for the listeners and the viewers, we have viewers. We are recording our first video podcast today. This is a milestone.
We're still in the basement.
We're still on a bed. We're still in the murder basement. But this is major.
But our new videographer just name dropped a lot of important people that he does podcasts for. So we're just really happy he's here.
It's okay. We don't have imposter syndrome about it. We're just really we're rolling with it.
Yeah, I don't have it at all.
Speaking of, we have a very minor guest today.
Yeah.
He hasn't done much in his career or anything.
Just
okay.
asleep at the wheel.
He's asleep at the wheel. Yeah, we're just on autopilot.
Yeah.
Without further ado, welcome to the imposter syndrome. That's not what it's called.
See, we're waking out. We're on video.
Welcome to the Great Imposters podcast. Culos of O.A.R.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Hi.
How do you feel about all this video?
I'm happy to be here. I didn't expect the video part until last minute, but hey.
Great.
You're dressed for the occasion.
Yeah. We tried to get him to wear a tux, but it was at the cleaners, you said. So,
it was. I was actually, I have a few of them that I couldn't decide between which color tux.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think you chose the right outfit. So one thing we like to start with here, Chris, is a unexpected icebreaker. I love an icebreaker. Maybe that's like our corporate days. Like
For
just
sure.
like we
For
love
sure.
an icebreaker, and you're not prepared for this question, but it's an original Joelle icebreaker I've come up with on my own. It's my favorite thing to ask. Okay. And by the way, Annie and I agree on the answer to this. So I'm not going to tell you which one is
no
ours.
pressure, but there's
no
a
pressure.
right or
No,
wrong answer?
there's no
No,
wrong
no,
answer.
no
Usually
wrong
we ask
answer.
a question that we debate about and see whose side you're on, but this one we actually have the same answer. Okay. So you're going on vacation. You have two options. You get to stay at the Motel 6 in Maui, Hawaii.
Not on the beach. It's like,
No, there's a Motel 6 in Maui.
yeah.
Or the Four Seasons in Gary, Indiana. Where are you going?
For me, 1,000% the Motel 6 in Maui.
I knew it. Okay, so this is
okay.
Okay, so we're the opposite, but I was debating in my head yesterday if it was going to be what you were going to say, because I'm like, okay, Chris can be bougie, but he sleeps on a tour bus. I've been on his tour bus, so I know that you don't care.
We've slept in some crazy places.
Right,
Scary places.
Scary places.
That a Motel 6 is like nothing. I mean, that's like, I'd sometimes be excited for a motel. When they've renovated a Motel 6.
Ooh. Is that living large? Living large on the
It's
road.
basically
It's
the Four.
still not.
It's basically
still
the Four
not living
Seasons.
large. It's still not living
Yeah.
large.
See, I love a small town. I'll give Gary a chance, but I also like to be waited on.
Listen,
you know?
we are amenity based travelers. That's basically
So
basically
like you're sleeping in, enjoying the cozy bed. You're ordering room service. You're going down to the spa. There's going to be a massage.
say less.
You're gonna
Say
have
less.
like multiple restaurants on location.
Yes.
There is an indoor and an outdoor pool.
Correct.
Okay.
And you get to look out on like the smokestacks of Gary, Indiana.
Right,
The
so here-
factory. The rust.
As opposed to Maui, where
the
you
rest-
could
right.
like, go out and like eat at amazing restaurants and be on
Right.
the beach and go do awesome activities.
Listen, it's a personality question though, because it's basically, are you an amenity based traveler, a comfort based traveler, or a like kind of location, but it doesn't really
Yes.
matter where you're staying. And we have come to the point in our lives.
I just want a good.
I want to bet.
night of
I'm not
sleep.
leaving my bed
Yeah.
in Nashville for a shittier bed.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's tough.
Well, I think my bed is like the best bed on planet Earth. So
So you
any
can't
other
top
bed
it?
is not going to compare to it. I've slept in good beds.
But you're also, you can sleep anywhere is kind of what you're saying.
Is it a Tempur-Pedic?
I have a Tempur-Pedic.
You have a Tempur-Pedic?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sponsor us.
Nice.
Yeah.
Product
Non-spons.
placement.
Is yours
So-
a Tempur-Pedic though?
It's not Tempur-Pedic, but it's
Okay.
one of the main brands that you've heard of. Like,
Okay.
and I don't know, Tempur-Pedic's not the brand. It's like the style,
the style.
right? But like, it's
Yeah,
a
it's one of
higher
those.
end. That was the thing. I think we got like good advice when we got married, and one of it was like spend money on a great mattress.
We got
That
the
is
same
good
advice. Love that.
My-
Maybe the same person's giving all that all the
Yeah.
mattress advice.
I think that's good advice. My grandmother was like, have separate bathrooms.
That's actually not the
I
worst
was like,
one.
that's
too.
pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you're living in a one bedroom, like one bathroom house, which Andre and I did for a while, it's, it's not fun.
No.
So that was good advice too.
So I did guess it right in the end because I thought you were going to say that. I kind of switched my thought on what you would say. But I will say, just before anyone from Gary, Indiana is offended, because I know we have so many listeners from Gary, Indiana.
I love a small town.
Annie and I put into ChatGPT last night, what is the most unappealing city to visit in America? And it came up Gary, Indiana, which is why I asked it that way.
Yeah.
So Sorry, Gary.
Sorry,
Okay.
Gary.
So anyway, Chris Culos is here. We are going to talk about a lot of things. I just want to take a little peek behind the curtain before we start to kind of go through with our podcast. Annie and I have been talking about doing a podcast for over a year. And when we first started, our initial topic was we wanted to talk to people and interview them about their side hustles and their passion projects. So,
And then I screwed it up because I didn't launch my side hustle.
right, which is fine. But once we started really narrowing in on what was important to us, and the better conversation was really about imposter syndrome, because most people never do it. Whatever that thing is, we thought it was more interesting to have the conversation about like what is stopping people from living kind of their best lives, which is imposter syndrome in most cases. So we're going to talk to you about your side gigs and imposter syndrome. Just kind of, we know that you have, obviously you've been in the same amazing world-class band for 25 years, which is insane, your entire life pretty much. But you also have some really cool other things you have going on at this point in your career. So we want you to talk about that too. So Annie, why don't you start us off?
Yeah. Okay. So Chris, first, do people always want to do cool? Do they really want to give you like Culos? Do they really want to like pronounce?
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like all my friends would call me my last name, Culos.
Culos. Okay.
Having
it's a
said
cool-
that, it's half my family is split. We kind of say Culos,
Okay.
and the other side says Culos.
Interesting.
I say Culos.
Yeah. You say Culos?
Because that's what you said.
Because you said
Yeah.
that when you introduced him, but I've always
Yeah, I say Chris Culos, but I have zero problem because probably
Culos.
more people than I've ever thought
Yeah.
about. Like the majority of people call me Culos.
Okay. Love it. All right. So our second question is always give us your stats. Tell us about yourself. Where are
Okay.
you from? What else you want to share? You don't have to share height and weight. We won't make you.
yeah. No, not those stats, unless
Yeah.
you feel inclined.
Okay. I am Chris Culos. I was born in Rockville, Maryland. I live in Nashville. I'm a husband and father of 2 daughters. And I play drums in the band O.A.R.
Like what? Like mic drop.
Yeah.
That's
mic drop.
Like what? Oh, and also you're our first man.
Yeah.
we've only
Congratulations.
you've broken.
Yeah.
Yes, you've just become. You're a great demographic to be expanding to. We love
Yes.
men.
Yes.
We would love some male listeners. So hopefully this helps.
Yes.
But yes, you're our first male
Men.
interview. So amazing. And for anyone who-
Invited to the basement, by the way.
very true.
Yeah.
In this, if the situation were reversed, I don't know if this would be
Yeah. Exactly.
as friendly. So that's amazing. And for anyone who isn't familiar with O.A.R, who obviously has no taste in music, how long have you been in your band? Like, tell us about the origin
Other
story.
Revolution.
Sure. Okay. So our singer, Mark, and I have been best friends since kindergarten.
Really?
And we've played, every sport. We've, been in every school and summer camps together.
Cool.
And we saw Pearl Jam on MTV, Pearl Jam Unplugged specifically.
Okay.
Ooh.
And we were like, we got to start a band.
Oh my God.
How old? How old were y'all?
8th grade.
8th grade.
So what is
Okay.
that, 13?
Yeah.
And, I'll jump ahead a little bit, but we formed as O.A.R in high school after playing and sort of, checking out different styles of music and different musicians along the way. But we landed with O.A.R when we were in high school. And then we decided to go to college together to give it a real shot. And
Where'd you go to college?
The Ohio State University.
What? I didn't know you went to the Ohio State University. Oh my God. I'm from Ohio.
He just set you up
Yeah.
to say,
Go Buckeyes.
there we go.
Thank you.
Every time anyone says anything, Annie says, go whatever the mascot is.
I should have
Yeah.
been like a frat boy.
Yeah.
I missed a calling. Yeah. I didn't realize. Okay. Because, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. He's
So
a-
from Maryland to Columbus.
That's right.
Cool.
Yeah. And we were there. We felt like Columbus is like our second hometown in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. That's really where the band's, whole thing started to really happen.
Whoa.
So,
a
this is going
great
back
American
years.
city, by the way, Columbus, Ohio.
Columbus is the best. And our saxophone player, Jerry, still lives there. So we
does.
still have roots there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you go back and do you do a lot of, you can play anywhere you want at any time, but do you go back and do shows for the,
Like at Ohio State,
Yeah.
over the years, we've done a few things
Yeah.
that have been really special, like some standout stuff. Like the dean was part of this event that invited us for this big fundraiser.
okay.
And we literally marched from like the student union to like the end of of campus with the marching band.
Cool.
And then they performed with us. Like one of the Ohio State fight songs is like Hang On Sloopy.
Oh,
that
yeah.
classic 60s or song. So like
Yeah.
they literally played Hang On Sloopy with us and then played Hey Girl, which is one of our popular songs.
Wow.
Wait, is
And
that when you
then-
met John Lampley?
No, but John was involved in that.
Yeah.
I think it was soon after. I'm pretty sure. I mean, this is probably 10 years ago. And let's say John's played with us for 12 or 13 years.
Oh my God.
But the backstory here, as Joelle is bringing up, but you may not know, is that our trumpet player had just graduated from Ohio State and was in the Ohio State marching band, which is by itself known across the world as like, so it's actually the best damn band in the land. I know this. TBDBITL.
Oh my
Anybody
God.
Oh my
cares.
God.
But it's a big thing. So
Yeah.
your senior year, if you're like the sousaphone player, which is
That's an instrument?
yes,
Okay.
exactly. Do you know what's the biggest instrument? The tuba. Okay.
Tuba,
So
okay.
it looks like a tuba. He's basically a tuba player.
Okay.
And so one of the highest honors you can do is you can dot the I in the Ohio State script.
I did know
when
that. Okay.
Ohio, script thing. So John Lampley is, well, I'll take a step back. Our sax player who lives in Columbus reached out to the music director of the school and said, hey, we're looking for a couple guys that we could take out on the road for a horn section. Because we had just recorded this album that had like horn parts beyond just what our saxophone player does.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to present that live. And so we asked if he had some, not only like, obviously they were going to be talented, but it was like, how do you describe it? Like, is there any like, rock stars in the marching band? And so he recommended John Lampley, who
is squarely one of the most talented people I've ever seen in my life.
he absolutely is. And he
Yeah.
exudes the most positive energy. I don't know.
He's
just
not
energy.
normal.
How
He's not normal.
You can't take
Yeah.
your eyes off him when he's on stage. He really just is the happiest, most.
And like lovely and kind and like makes you feel special. Like John, we're going to send this podcast to you. You're going to
Yeah,
listen.
exactly.
They really love you.
We love you.
Good job.
Maybe he'll
John.
be the second male.
Oh my
guest
gosh.
you can have.
We need to get him
There
to
we go.
Nashville. He would be so good. Okay.
So there's a lot of Ohio State history.
Yes.
So that's where
Wow.
we'll kind of
Okay.
put that all together.
yes.
And I love that like you guys made a phone call and like changed the course of this guy's life. It's
Yeah,
powerful.
him and another guy, Evan, and we literally threw them on stage. I think at their first show was Red Rocks, sold out.
Oh
show.
my
It was like
God.
10,000 people. Yeah,
That's wild.
Whoa.
yeah, sink or swim, buddy.
Whoa.
Oh my God. Epic.
And
wow.
they swam.
Oh yeah,
They
Yeah,
swam.
they swam well. Wow.
Yes. They swam a marathon. That's not
they
a thing.
did. Yeah, and so and just to wrap it up as we're praising John. I mean, you can catch him. He's one of the most like hardworking guys in show business. He's in the Stephen Colbert late night band. He is. Touring with a bunch of bands. He is writing and recording. He has his own side projects. I mean, that's just off the top of my head. I mean,
Yeah.
there's literally he's one of his bands. They get grants and they go do educational tours and clinics and programs all around the world. Like literally, I'll follow him on Instagram and be playing a show with him on like a Friday or Saturday night, and then like Wednesday, he's like, "I'm in Italy with my jazz project," and we're like, "What?"
Wow.
I wonder if like he ever sleeps though, because I don't think I would.
If you were doing a lot?
No. Do you think John Lampley Music, that's his Instagram name, so I call him John Lampley Music. Do you think John Lampley Music has imposter syndrome? Probably not.
Probably not. I mean, he's just genuine and he's very comfortable with
He is.
himself, and I think he is. Yeah, I don't know if we would
Yeah,
have to
we'll
ask him.
we'll
Who
have to
doesn't?
ask him.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
You
No,
know?
we're good. Hey, we're getting used to this new setup,
Yeah,
guys.
yeah.
You're watching it live.
If he did have imposter syndrome, he had to get over it like real damn fast at Red
quick.
Rocks.
Yeah.
Well, that's also, I guess this is really a good segue to test a
Yeah.
theory, which is we do think that to a degree, everyone has some sort of imposter syndrome, right? Like, I don't know how one goes through life without ever experiencing it, but we do feel that it is more prevalent in women in general. Maybe that's just like kind of misogyny, from
The system.
the
Just
system,
working
right?
it- yeah.
But I do think women like naturally doubt themselves and like question themselves more than men, just historically. So we're gonna ask first a question, then we'll kind of get into some of the impostery questions to see if we're aligned. But when you think about the question, we ask all of our guests this. It's a little awkward, but what are you great at?
But you can't say
Sleeping.
drumming.
And you can't say sleeping.
That's a skill. Like, what? Go on.
We were just gonna say you can't say drumming, but you didn't. You weren't going to.
Oh, I didn't blink. Sleeping. I'm anytime, anywhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
Motel 6.
Listeners, if you are listening and you're over like 32, that's
Yeah.
a skill that you absolutely should drop.
Wow.
Should drop as a skill because that's amazing.
What about that's an inactive skill. What about like while
Wait. But do
Okay.
you have to take anything to sleep?
Oh yeah,
No.
good.
You're not dropping any melatonin. You're not hitting the unisom.
Nap City, baby.
What the hell?
Raw dog sleep
Wow.
in 2024.
That's amazing.
I've
Well,
never
I
heard of
think
that.
I've developed it over the years in a similar way to like people in the military have like odd sleeping and odd schedules, and you have to fit it in where you can. And
yeah.
we've learned to like, you're getting weird travel, super early flights, very late shows. You're a lot of hurry up and wait. It's a lot of just like you're sitting on a couch waiting for the next thing to happen. You got to get
And
all
so
asleep.
you'll get a nap in while you're like
On
waiting.
a plane, on a
go
couch,
crush
on
it
the
at Red
floor,
Rocks.
Wow.
anytime, anywhere.
Okay, so sleeping, great skill. We know that you've literally been a drummer in a very successful band for 25 years. So we already know that. You know you're a great drummer.
Do
Okay.
you though?
You-
is that
do-
where your
is
imposter
that-
syndrome comes
A
out?
little bit. I mean,
Really?
that's-
Oh, let's-
we
Okay,
can-
yeah,
Let's start
yeah.
there. Like, have you? Okay, so that's good. Let's start there because Chris is literally. I'm not just saying this because he's in the room and he's one of my closest friends, but he's a legendary drummer. Like, I don't know anything about music, so maybe don't take it from me. But anyone who knows anything about like percussion knows who Chris is and knows that he's incredibly excellent at his craft. And I remember one of the first things I said to Chris, and it's crazy he still likes me, is I'm so jealous that you get to be a drummer because you get to sit all the time. Like I did.
You did say that.
Like I did say that.
Yeah.
That's kind of great.
I'll verify that.
You're the
Yes,
only person who
confirmed.
gets a chair, right? Oh no, right?
Pretty much.
I mean that's awesome.
Pretty much.
And
And
you're
I
s-
mean, maybe sometimes a piano player gets a little
That's
bit.
true,
But
yeah.
they still have to like stand up.
Yeah.
During solos and things.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
expected.
Right.
You can't just
Yes.
Oh my god.
Chris gets to
that's-
sit. But anyway, back to
But so, do you sometimes do you have imposter syndrome sometimes as a drummer in O.A.R? You like, I don't know how I got here. How did I do this?
I mean, I think over the years there's been moments. I think
Okay.
I'm comfortable with it now, and I don't think I'm a bad drummer. I think I'm a good drummer. I think I'm really good at being O.A.R's drummer. I think I'm good at being in a band. I think I'm great at being in a band. But when we're talking about like being a great drummer, it's just sort of like without any kind of context. It's a weird thing to answer because I'm not a trained drummer. I didn't go to school for drums. I didn't coming out of that
This is
world.
imposter syndrome.
wait, I'm getting we've never
So
discussed this
it's
and I'm
sort
getting
of
chills
like,
right now.
How do you want to define what's a
Okay.
great drummer? You know?
Okay.
That's the same my exact not that I'm on the same level of makeup as Chris is of drumming, but I've said the same thing. I'm not a trained makeup artist. I'm a self-taught
Yeah.
makeup artist. And I refuse to believe I'm great at it because I haven't like been to school for it.
Yeah. I would get
kind of-
that way like in corporate America. Like I would get that way about like not having an MBA. I'd be like, well, I don't have an MBA. This person has an MBA. So like they obviously know how to
Yes.
do the business things.
And that's
I was
all
like,
imposter syndrome. That's all
Yeah.
bullshit, honestly.
Yeah.
Like none of that is true.
Fascinating.
That's so crazy. Have you ever like walked onto stage at a certain because I feel you've been doing this for so long. And when did you start touring colleges? When you were in college or right after?
when we were in college. So
Okay.
I think, and the biggest thing without having to like get into the whole story, but for some weird like coincidence, Napster happened right as we were starting in college. And our music was spreading
so
around college campuses without us like it was out of our control in a way.
Cool.
And for some reason our music connects with, most people found out about us when they were in college,
Yeah.
and it's just the timing of that is just a random, amazing occurrence, but it happened without us having like a major label or
yeah.
traditional ways, like you
Right.
used to have to like, have your CDs and Tower Records, or you
Right.
would be on the radio, or you would be on MTV. And like, we didn't early on have any of that. And so our music was still able to spread.
So was Napster almost for any of our young listeners? Napster was a illegal downloading service.
Yeah, so it was called
I
file sharing.
Yes.
It's early.
I think I
days of
had
the internet.
LimeWire. I
Right.
think that's the one I had.
Yeah.
It was all
I was
elite.
Napster for life.
Yeah.
It's like the transition area of taking from like when you would buy like CDs, like
Yes.
physical, product, and then it getting online and you being able to now just kind of access any song from anywhere.
I never thought about like the viral distribution of Napster though. Like because
you
there
were,
was
like,
no
one of the
social media. There's no way to go
Right.
viral back then in that way.
But
I
you
didn't.
did. You were like one of the first viral,
Yes.
in the true meaning of the word, bands. That's fascinating.
Yeah, we truly were. It's everyone from that era can remember like Metallica looking like very bad for stepping up and saying how evil it was.
They were the ones who started all the litigation,
and all of that, and going against their, I think they're like suing fans, you know, and it was a major backfire. But in a way, they were sort of right about where the business was going. For us, we actually got contacted by Napster to like give like a deposition on their behalf.
Get out of here.
Yeah, we never ended up doing that, but like we could see like there was like for us it was a huge success story. Like like the reason I'm doing why I'm sitting here today probably is because of Napster launching our career.
Wow.
Damn.
Wow.
That's crazy. I don't think I ever knew that. Well, that's a fun fact. I hope a lot of lifelong O.A.R fans who I know are listening have picked up a fun new fact that they may have not known. So what I was originally, I didn't even know we were going to go on that tangent. What I was originally going to ask was, you started touring, like you and Mark, you're in middle school, you start this band, you go to Ohio State. It's all like fun. It's kind of all fun and games, right? Like you're enjoying yourself. It's like what you love to do. What a dream. And then you start touring. Was there ever a moment, or the first moment you can think of, where you're like, you walked out onto a stage, whether that was like a amphitheater or like some big venue, and you were like, I cannot fucking believe I'm here. Like, is this right? Like, should I be here? Like, did you ever have that moment at a certain show?
Yeah, I mean, I think I know where you're getting at. I mean, we've had moments where like, wow, this is just like, who would ever thought?
Yeah.
We played, and this is a bit of name dropping, so hang on a second, but like, so we played in like, I think it was 2006, sold out show at MSG. And I walked off stage, like, just like furious, because I was just so frustrated with how I was playing. And it was so, I just remember that more than anything, like so vividly, being like, this is the biggest arena in the world. Like, you're walking off stage playing a sold out show at Madison Square Garden. And like, why aren't you enjoying this? Like, it's supposed to be. And so that like was for me a very like big turning point where I kind of, you know, changed some things for myself and have gotten on a path since then that completely changed how I approach the drums, how I, you know, how my role in the band is, I think, in a lot of ways.
Wow.
Because of that, that moment. And it wasn't just that one night. It wasn't one show that I had a bad night. Yeah. That was the leading up to something that had been a very frustrating time for me.
Okay. Can you give us a like a hint at some of maybe one change you can talk about that came from that? Like,
sure. It kind of had to do with, I played drums in the basement for fun.
Yeah.
And never really took lessons. I did music in school a little bit, but I never saw how that kind of connected to playing drums in a rock band, you know, as opposed to like, you know, being in the marching band or being in the symphonic band. It just, it unfortunately, I look back and I see it so many ways how it was obvious for me to kind of build skills that way, but I just didn't care to. I was just, all I wanted to do was be in a rock band with my friends.
And you were doing it.
And I was doing it.
You were doing the
and
thing.
It was happening.
Yeah.
So there was no focus on practicing the way like, you know, a John Mayer went and like spent his teens or whatever in his bedroom learning every guitar lick from Eric Clapton and the Grateful Dead and every famous guitar player. Like, it's a longer story than I'll get there. But basically, like, I played the drums for fun. And then all of a sudden, over the years, like, I'm on stage at MSG.
Right.
And I didn't think I was playing at the level that the band had grown to be at.
Wow.
And so it was a matter of like, we had played hundreds of shows up until this point. And you're on stage every night and there's things that I hear in my head that I'm not able to play. I don't know either how to do it, or I don't know what it is to physically do it. As a drummer, there's a lot of coordination. There's a lot of different, you know, things that you're hitting. It's not just you're playing one instrument. You have, you know, all of these drums, all of these cymbals, all of that stuff out in front of you. So it sort of caught up to me where like I'd always thought in the back of my mind that like one day this, like if my left hand is my weak hand, that it would develop, or if this thing that I always heard, it would just kind of work itself out because I'm literally playing the drums every day. But those skills weren't developing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it was really just like honing in on mastering the craft.
Yes.
At the end of the day.
Yeah, it was realizing that there, like, you would have to like go back and put in the work and
But
work
good for
on,
you. Like that's because I would say
Yeah.
many other people would have fumbled the ball at that point and just been like
Or gotten
continued
angry.
on.
Yeah. Just gotten angrier and been like, whatever, you got, like found excuses and
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
you
I
like
mean-
you course corrected.
that's awesome.
Well, thank you, but I it was important to me. I wanted to figure out. In a lot of ways, it was almost like, well, you're already playing a sold out show at MSG. Like, what you guys are doing is working.
Correct.
So, like,
Right.
you know,
what's the point?
Cut
Right.
yourself some slack.
But
Yeah.
then that's kind of like being honest with yourself. You're like, if this is going to be sustainable, I need to grow.
Yes.
Yeah. That's
That's
cool.
That,
Were we going to say the same thing, Jinx?
Yeah. Well, and I love that too because sometimes to do the hard thing or the thing that you were avoiding or the thing that was scaring you or the thing you didn't want to make time for, you have to get to a point where like you're doing it purely for yourself, which it sounds like you were. It was about you. Like it doesn't sound like the band was like, dude, skill up, and you had already made it. You were playing MSG, but you were like, I gotta do this for me because I want this for myself. So I love that.
Thank you.
You got your MBA in drumming, full circle MBA
Yes.
check
There you
here.
go.
You got it.
Yes.
Okay, so I love hearing a story about someone going back and like mastering their craft later in that career. I think that's very inspirational. Which sort of just reminds me of the crazy like job and career paths we all take. And we like to ask our guests, can you tell us about your first or worst job or both if you feel so inclined?
Sure. Yeah. I had a lot of jobs, like part-time jobs when I was younger. My mom was really big on that early on. I mean, so my first couple of jobs, they were all kind of awesome. So I don't know if it's
Really?
Yeah.
Well, then they don't have to be worse. Just what were you doing back in the
Yeah,
day?
what were you doing?
So my first job, I was a lifeguard,
Okay.
and I was
So
like
fun.
with friends. You're just outside in the summer, and that's how I
Yeah.
met our bass player, Benj, by the way.
Oh,
wow.
And then I was a delivery boy for like this gifts and like flower company, and it was right when I got my driver's license, and so like it would be all around DC, which I don't know if you guys know DC, but it's not like New York where it's like a
Grid.
grid.
Yeah.
It
It's
doesn't
a
make
mess.
sense. There's like circles and like roundabouts, and
Yeah.
it's like it was specifically designed to be like a spider web. I have like so like nobody ever knew where they were in DC, like ever.
Wow.
So when I was like 16, I was like, I know every neighborhood. So that was
Cool.
kind of cool.
Yeah.
see that
God,
you
if
were,
Uber had been around, Chris, you could have
Yeah.
been just raking it in.
I was also gonna say like you're such an optimist because I would look at that job and be like I fucking hated that job. I was so lost all the time, and Chris is like, no, I got to know the city. It's a better perspective.
Okay, wait. So you've already mentioned Pearl Jam. Wait, which can I tell you something?
Yeah.
Have you played with them or met?
No,
them?
we've
Okay.
met like one or two, but
Okay.
nothing that. Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't gotten to like have a conversation like we started a band because of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. That's gonna happen. We're gonna manifest it. I moved from Seattle and I lived in West Seattle where Eddie Vedder lives. And we had a snowstorm there and I walked to the grocery store with my oldest daughter. And I was getting a slice of pizza at the grocery store and Eddie Vedder was standing next to me. And I went like I feel like I'm not like afraid of too many or like intimidated by too many people. And I went full on like hi.
Panic attack.
Yeah, like I was like, do you like pizza? It was awful. And he's so like normal. Oh, it was painful. Okay.
That's amazing.
But when you're driving around in your delivery truck, I'm picturing like one of those like Dutch tulip looking vans is what I'm picturing. Just FYI.
Yeah.
No, ours was like a white serial killer van.
Okay,
but
okay.
You same idea.
Perfect.
Yeah. Were there other bands you were rocking out to all the time that were an inspiration at that age?
You know, it's interesting you say that. Like, I remember vividly hearing the news that Kurt Cobain died when I was driving. And I remember, like, that's where I was. I was in my delivery van when I heard it on the radio.
Yeah.
Yeah, we listened to, like, everything. I mean, I was really big into hip-hop when I was, like, a teenager. For whatever reason, like, East Coast stuff, like, my friends were big into, you know, The Roots and De La and Tribe Called Quest and anything like that stuff was
Nice.
really big. And I was a huge Beastie Boys fan. So I'd listen to all those records a lot.
Fun.
They were fun.
They're so good.
So fun.
Yeah.
And so
So
fun to
good.
play the drums along to.
Yeah. If someone made you do karaoke right now, what song would you pick?
It wouldn't happen. It would
You
not.
won't do
it?
It would not happen. You don't understand. I play
do
the
karaoke?
drums so that I don't ever have to like sing or dance, by the way.
Or stand.
Yeah. Or like right now with this microphone in front of our stand.
All the drummers are gonna be so pissed at you.
I know all the drummers are gonna come for me. They're like, it is hard work. Like I see you're moving
Right?
from
At least let us sit down.
from-
We're going to use all 4 limbs. Like, at least let me sit
from
down.
torso up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the
working.
way, listeners and viewers, Joelle told me like 2 days ago we were talking about something completely different that she like got her mom to write her a note to get out of band.
Oh, when I was in like 4th grade, I was like the one of the. There were 3 kids in orchestra, to be clear, but I hated playing the violin so much. It was like mandatory in 4th and
Yeah.
5th grade to play an instrument. There were 3 kids who opted out, and I was one of them.
Wow.
But I love music. I just didn't like.
You didn't want to play
I don't
this.
like doing things
Yeah.
I'm bad at. That's the problem.
Aw.
I know.
You'll get there.
That's why. I mean, we went bowling. That was the first time I went bowling. You don't know this in like 10 years.
Yeah.
Maybe more, because I'm not good at it, but I've gotten better.
Well,
Are you
I mean, I haven't been
competitive?
bowling in like 10 years. I'm just
Shut
saying.
up. Chris is
Just
so
saying.
Chris
You
is
could-
so good at
Do you want to
bowling.
finish that
That's
story?
because of his-
Yeah,
that's
let's
because
let
of
Let
his
me
you-
time.
yeah.
Can I finish
Because
the
of his-
story?
Yeah, I'd love
Fall
to hear it.
break.
This is one of my favorite stories.
This is one of Chris's favorite stories. Fall break. My family and Chris's family went to Chattanooga. Fabulous town. Highly recommend. We went to this really fun bar that had a bowling alley, brewery. We didn't bring the kids. We got a babysitter. Highly recommend doing that.
You listened to our last episode.
Right, you know,
Yeah,
babysitters.
you know about. Yeah.
So we played bowling. We like bowled, and I was like, we played bowling. But I was like,
That's how
Joelle.
often she.
We played bowling.
I know.
Yeah.
This
But
is our
listen.
intuitive exercise.
Yes, listen. Ever since Zoloft, like I'm much better at not being as like anxious about trying things I'm not going to be good at. So I was like, fine, this is fun. We were drinking. We were good. So I'm like, I'm going to bowl. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get the ugly shoes. I'm going to do the whole thing. So I was like, okay. And I'm like, I'm not good. Whatever. I'm like doing the granny bowling. Chris,
Aw, that's so vulnerable, Joelle. Good for you.
isn't that beautiful?
Yeah. Wow.
So Chad's really good. Chris's wife, Katie's really good.
So basketball skills translate into bowling.
Yeah.
Good to know. Okay.
Chris comes out. I don't have a good bowling icon to like whatever. Like whoever like the fucking Tom Brady of bowling is. Chris just comes out the gate, strike, strike, strike. Doesn't even like we're like, what fucking bowling league are you in?
Wow.
Every night.
It's because of your time in Ohio. I feel like everyone in Ohio bowls all the time because there's not shit to do.
And Chris
They
was
might, but like I didn't.
Chris was getting mad because we were shitting on him so much. And he was like, you were like, what the fuck? Why can't you just be happy for me?
In the zone.
Yeah, you were like, why can't you just be
I
happy
was
for me?
like-
I'm doing really well.
I had no idea what was going on. I could do no wrong. I couldn't miss.
What?
No idea. I've never gone like fucking bowling, but
Wow.
whatever. So I'm doing well. Meanwhile, my wife and Chad, Joelle's husband, are like naturally like they're very athletic and they're also competitive.
And then there's me.
And so like I'm sitting there like joking and kind of playing it up like as if
And
I
they're like-
like do. All of a sudden, I feel the tension, the hatred. They were gunning for me. It
Oh
was
my
like
God.
nothing. They were gonna like. I have no idea. It was really
Yeah.
funny. Like
Yeah.
Chad's like, I'm not
yeah,
losing it.
the,
Bowling.
Honestly-
the energy in the air totally shifted.
It did. Honestly, in that
Did you just
room.
leave?
No, we ended on good terms.
Yeah.
But it felt good to be the worst because at least I wasn't the middle. Because they were getting, you know what I mean? Like they were
Mad.
getting.
They were
You're like, I
getting
know
mad.
where I
Yeah.
stand.
Totally.
Yeah.
Where were we even coming from from that conversation?
I don't know, but
But I'm glad we had it.
I'm really, really glad we had it. And I just want our listeners to know what a risk taker you are going bowling,
Thank
putting
you.
the shoes on.
I've really with the ugly shoes
Yes.
is probably the worst part.
You not wanting to do bad things that you're bad at.
Yes.
Maybe. Was that what it was?
Oh,
And
maybe.
the quitting music and
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're like we're tangenting hard right now.
Wait, but also I invited you to go curling.
And I was like, I'll pass. I was like,
knew
can I
you-
watch?
Oh my god,
or-
I knew you didn't. Yeah, that was great. I knew you didn't want to go. You can't use intuition in curling. It's just pure.
I don't even like. I thought that was like isn't that like an old person sport?
No, like Canadian.
Okay. Oh, same thing. No.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got first job. We love the delivery story. We
Yeah.
found out Kurt
I didn't
Cobain.
get to tell you my worst job.
Oh my god, go!
Oh yeah.
Oh, did you want me to
Yes.
do?
Yes.
So my worst job is one that I'm actually really proud of, but like it wasn't what I thought it was gonna be. So I was a DJ in high school. I was the youngest DJ ever hired at Bristol Sounds.
Please, did you just like work the bar mitzvah circuit?
It was all of that.
Oh my
Absolutely.
God, amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So like high school dances were pretty awesome. Like
my
that was
God.
cool. But it was more often than not like not what I like. It was always like some corporate gig in a weird hotel ballroom.
Awkward.
And like, all right, so like one time, this had to have been, let's say, is like 1996, okay? And I was hired to play a class reunion. It was a 10-year class reunion, and the lady who called to like hire me was like, she was like the class president back in the 10 years ago or whatever. But she was super specific. She wanted all of these songs. She wanted it to be themed from 1986. She kept calling me and going over the set list.
Like she wanted it themed from the year they graduated?
What is that, like all Billy Joel?
The year. It was all like yacht rock songs. I have no idea. No. Right. So literally, and so we go through this on like multiple times, like getting a like set, and you wouldn't come up with a set list. Like you're a DJ. You just like play songs and whatever.
Just feeling it.
Right. So I show up to play this class reunion, and like the third song in, like it was the most major backfire of all time. Everyone's like, so you're gonna start playing like popular songs, like current songs?
Oh God.
And I'm like in my mind, like I don't have current, like the Karen, the lady from like your class president, hired me to like play all I brought were songs from 1986 that
my
she
God.
curated.
Oh my God.
And I'm like a deer in headlights, because I'm like this like 16-year-old
Oh
kid.
my God.
Yeah.
And all of these like 26-year-olds are like cool, wanting to party, are like, stop playing songs
Oh
from
my
1986.
That
Like,
is-
is this really happening? And in my mind, I'm like, how did I not see this? Why didn't I talk? But Karen,
Which
or
she
whatever
was
her
like-
name was,
Karen, for sure. Yeah.
is like, so it was a lot of those type experiences.
Wow.
That's hilarious.
Dude, Karen was trying to like relive she was trying to like
was.
get back together with
Yeah.
the High School of Love or something.
I cannot be the only person who thinks of that scene in Step Brothers when they're like, play whatever. And he's like, we're strictly 80s Joel.
yeah.
Strictly
Yes.
80s Joel. Yeah.
Thank you. That's a very underrated moment, that they're not just a Billy Joel cover band, but that a specific
Strictly
era.
80s Joel.
Strictly
Yeah.
80s. So
Oh
good.
my God. So good. Actually, Chris, that was a really good segue. I don't even think you meant to set this up, but we told the audience we wanted to get into some of the other stuff you're doing outside of O.A.R. right now, because like all humans should, you've evolved. Even though you're on tour, you still tour every summer. There's a tour coming up this summer. You have to go. When O.A.R. is in your town, you are an idiot to not buy tickets. That is my
Dummy.
endorsement, okay? Like it is the
dummy.
best. If
You're not an idiot, but it will be fun.
No, you're an idiot. If
You're
Crazy
a
Game of Poker is
dummy.
the only song you know, it will still be the best night of your life. I promise. It's the best. They are so fun on stage. Anyway, not paying me to say that. I just really mean. I just really mean it. They're so good. But you are doing other things, and you've got other projects. So we want you to talk about those specifically. And ironically, you were doing DJ gigs. So I mean, I'll let you talk about it, but tell us about the Music City All Stars.
Yes, absolutely. So I recently partnered with one of my best friends, and he has a wedding band company. They play all kinds of events and weddings and corporate stuff. And he has 4 bands in Chicago and 1 in LA. And we are the latest edition. It's the same formula that he's built up over like the last 15 years to be like the most like popular and in demand, wedding band in Chicago. And he and I go way, way, way back. Actually, early O.A.R. stuff.
Wow.
And so he's asked me to partner with him, since I know a lot of musicians down here, and he knows the industry. And so we're just getting started, but it's been really fun.
Cool.
And I'm happy to talk about it.
Yeah, like if you like anyone who's planning your very high budget wedding in Nashville, like you need to reach out to Music City All Stars. They're incredible.
It doesn't have to be just a high budget wedding. I love it. Everyone's like, oh wait, how much?
Yeah. But I mean, this is not your like rinky dink. Like this is a group of professionals. Like
True.
If you're
wedding-
getting married at the bowling alley, might not work out.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, wedding bands aren't cheap. And
No.
No, but so worth it.
yeah,
So worth it.
Our concept is really cool. So all of the musicians in the band are touring professionals, and they're all from major A-list bands that you've heard of, whether they're, a bass player from Taylor Swift, or somebody who's played with Jake Owen, or somebody who's played with rock bands or country or gospel is really big here in the whole, Christian music scene. And they're playing
Yeah.
arenas, and then in their downtime may not necessarily be looking to play on Broadway. For people not here in Nashville, that's the strip of all the, the honky tonks where musicians go and basically play for tips. And, certain honky tonks are better than others in terms of taking care of their musicians.
And time slot,
and all that. But there's a lot of musicians like me that, have kids and just value their time with family and maybe don't want to give up a Saturday night for going to play for tips.
Yeah.
So we're able to, from me playing in O.A.R for so long, I've, I met a ton of amazing musicians and have a great network of friends that I want to play with. And then the singers in the band, they all come from American Idol and The Voice. And they all have their own original artist thing going on that they're down here in Nashville pursuing. So it adds a little bit of a different element than what most wedding bands are.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
again,
amazing.
and I'm not, talking bad about wedding
I'm so
bands.
pissed I didn't have that.
I know, right?
It's a cool concept.
Yeah.
Yes, it comes from more of a concert-like experience.
I love that.
In a way, one of the things that our owner, Danny, who you've met,
yes.
he said to me, if I think, when we were just starting, he said, a lot of times wedding bands it's like a stereotype about it.
Yeah, like the wedding singer.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's not that they're not good musicians or singers. It's just often it tends to be music teachers and music theater people that are performing on the weekends.
Sure.
And so where my day job is to go and play in front of thousands of people, I'm bringing a different thing to this,
Yeah.
And so when I surround myself with a band of other musicians that do that and singers that have played on some of the biggest stages and in front of, television audiences and they're in the studio recording, it's a different energy.
Was it a no-brainer for you to say yes to Danny when he brought it up?
Yeah, it absolutely was.
Yeah.
Which is it's so interesting because we were kind of just coming out of the pandemic.
Right.
And, I didn't know if O.A.R, I didn't know when, I knew at some point, I don't know what the world would look like. And so, you're having thoughts, where do we go? What do you do? What kind of, if I couldn't play music anymore, what would you do? And I still wanted to be in music, you throw around ideas, like maybe you can do real estate. Maybe you go and you work at this. Maybe you go back to school and do that. Like, I'm not saying that I was really, looking down the road, but you're just thinking of all that. And I was just like, I'm a musician. I want to do something in music. And what does that look like? And honestly, it was my wife who brought this idea to me. And she went out. I think I was on tour. At this point, I was already back to work. But so Danny and his wife were down in Nashville celebrating her 40th birthday, and she went to go meet him out for drinks. And he was telling her how he had been sending a few of his bands down to Nashville. And, Katie's like, asking about it. And he's like, well, for whatever reason, the higher end weddings are either hiring DJs or they're booking bands from outside of Nashville. I
That's
don't know,
wild.
for whatever reason in Music City, there isn't there are wedding bands here.
Yeah.
But there was clearly a gap.
There's a little bit of a gap.
Yeah.
And so she was like, why don't you start one here in Nashville? Like, Chris knows all the musicians.
Yeah.
And it kind of clicked. And he was like, you think he would be into it? So they literally texted me like that night. Like, I just got off stage. I have all these like texts from like, Dan and Katie.
We have your next job.
Yeah. And so we got on the phone like the next day and he was like, are you serious? And I was like, I'm 100% in. Like, because I have such respect for him and what he has done in that world. Like, and we go way back. I mean, he was our first keyboard player. The first time O.A.R played in Chicago, we opened up for his band.
Oh my God.
We go way, 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 way back. Like, my brother set up him and his wife.
That's right.
So like there's all this like backstory.
Whoa, okay.
And I just love what he has done and created this entirely on his own.
Yeah.
He really has. And so and it's also fun because the music, it's not like we're playing, like we literally don't have like YMCA as like in our like as an option for us to play. Like, not that we're not gonna play like popular songs, but like he leans way more into like soul and Motown and R&B.
Oh, cool.
And having like, we have 2 female singers, 2 male singers, and a rapper. So like we can cover Jay-Z
Anything,
yeah. Come.
and Weezer and Taylor Swift, and it's all like in our wheelhouse. It's not like you've got like one or two singers that are like trying to cover all of that.
So if you hire your band, do all the singers come, or does the what?
Well,
know.
so yes, they do. I mean, having said that, we do operate in like, we can go as small as like 9-piece, and we can also go as large as like 15 pieces.
Oh my goodness.
But that really kind of depends on like, do we have like a large or a small horn section? Are we adding a percussionist?
Yeah.
Like the core band is always going to be there.
Do we need the
that's going to
harpist,
include
you know?
the 4 vocalists and the rapper. Do we need the harp? Of course you need the
Of course,
harp.
me the harpist.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I just wanted you guys to know that when I moved here, I made it my mission to go. I don't go to Broadway a lot because like I'm old and I have 3 kids. But when I'm there, I always ask the musicians to "Make Love in This Club" by Usher, because I'm determined to find a honky tonk player who can do who can do that song. And every time they're like, "I don't do Usher."
What?
Every time.
I'm
Every
shocked.
time.
I'm shocked not one person has
It's
done
like
that.
my
before.
life's Nashville mission.
It's a great song.
So we
Like,
should
I
all
don't
go
even
out.
think that's weird. Like, I actually think that's like so mild
Yeah,
compared
you were
to
really
some of the.
you were
Yeah.
instantly supportive.
Well, I'm
of
like
it.
a lifelong Usher fan, so
Okay.
I would fully support
No,
that.
it
but-
embarrasses everyone that ever been there with. They're like, "What? Come on, Annie, don't go request Usher." And I'm like, I'm usually
All right.
inebriated.
It's now a part of my life mission as well.
yeah,
to get
we need
Usher
to
on
find
Broadway.
someone at a honky tonk.
Yeah, well, I think the misconception is that it's like all country all the time, but you get
Not
to
at
the
all.
right one.
It's
It's
not.
not at all.
Not at all.
but it's not Usher.
But it's not Usher
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
You just haven't hit it on the right night.
And
That
isn't he playing the Super Bowl?
yes.
Okay, so no, it's perfect.
No,
time.
this is our
Perfect
time. This
time.
is our
Yeah.
time.
Yes.
This is our time. So, Chris, I only know you in the music world. Like, I don't know a lot of musicians personally. Do you feel like a lot of people in your shoes who are like still touring musicians have the same outlook as you, and like kind of I don't want to call it a contingency plan, but just like never know what's gonna after COVID, never know what's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
They shut certain things down. Maybe I should do some other things. Like, are a lot of musicians like that?
I find that they are. I find it odd in a way that like, not odd in a way. I would say that this is my first side hustle, if you will. Like so many musicians that I know in other bands play in other projects, you know, or have something else that they're doing. You know, we tour with a lot of people, and I see like some of my closest friends that have like done other kinds of things outside of music. It's a pretty common thing. You know, the music business is crazy. Not that other industries aren't, but it's you have to commit to that lifestyle, and it's very hard to sustain. It's a tough long-term career to navigate for a lot of different reasons. And especially when you add in family and how and when you are getting paid, finances of it are different. You can't rely on a paycheck every 2 weeks.
right.
So it's an interesting thing for
Yeah.
sure. So, I mean, in one sense, I'm so lucky that I've been able to just have all my focus on O.A.R. for so long. And I feel like this is perfect because it's not taking my attention away from O.A.R. at all. This is like
Yeah.
an opportunity to fill in when like, O.A.R. is not on tour, and when I am on tour, I can manage it from the road just as easily. I don't have to play, the drums every night.
Yeah.
I've had amazing drummers already sub for me. And my original role in this was to manage it. And I just found that it would be easier and better and more fun to play the drums and not be a manager type character in the corner
Yeah.
with like a clipboard yelling
Yeah.
at people.
Are the
So-
weddings that you've done so far, like, is it like a concert? Like, do people get up there and just like rock out?
Yeah, I mean, of course, you've been to weddings and
Yes.
you see how it gets, towards like later in the night.
When there's a great
all
band,
the-
that's like, it doesn't matter how the food is.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what's
Yeah.
going on. You're like, dad's giving a speech and you're like, shut the fuck up. I want the band back. Yeah.
That's very true.
Yeah, what's been surprising to me is how many like special guests will get sit in. We'll have like, my cousin Tess sings, can she come up? And you're like, bring her up.
Stop.
Let's do
Really?
This. Yeah.
Could
yeah.
you imagine?
Yeah, because if I had enough,
You would do it?
I would do that for sure.
Oh
I would
my
sing. Mike, since you guys didn't ask,
Yeah. Sorry.
so rude. My karaoke song is "Zombie" by the Cranberries.
That's a really hard song to sing.
and it just makes everyone super uncomfortable.
It's making me uncomfortable hearing that.
Yeah.
like everybody's just like, what the fuck? But it's a crowd pleaser in the way that everybody's just like, what the fuck?
Do you like karaoke?
I'll do it.
I think karaoke.
I think that's a yes. That
I
was
like it, yeah.
that was the most yes I have ever heard.
I'll
do it.
You won't ever do it?
no.
Okay.
I think karaoke. So I've been to one positive karaoke like experience where like I wasn't doing it, I was watching it, but mostly it's people who aren't good at singing getting up and singing. Like that's mostly what it is.
Mostly.
Yeah.
And like I don't know, I like people
Or
who
like
are good
frat
at what they
guys
do.
getting up and being like,
Right. Like it's just
Yeah.
it's not my like idea of a good time. I prefer to just be really bad at bowling,
yeah.
I agree.
you know?
Yeah.
So
But I love that. I love your side hustle too, because I feel like we kind of explore this theory throughout the podcast too, but there are people that are sort of, I believe like people are like born with an entrepreneurial gene or like they don't have it. And it feels like musicians are very entrepreneurial because like you guys are, I mean, you have to do your, your.
It is. It's,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I'm
Thank you
saying this, if it's obvious or not, but like it's a business and you
It's a
are
business,
running
yes.
your own business.
Yeah.
And you have to figure that out. At least if you're going to be successful at it.
Yeah.
You have to learn how to do that.
even that story you told earlier, like that kind of defining moment when you were like, no one told you had to get better. You decided, like you self-managed.
Yeah.
Like you gave yourself a performance review in
Yeah.
that moment. Like
Yeah.
if we're going to make it corporate, like that's,
I like
you
that.
kind of did that yourself. You like that?
Yeah.
That's cool, right?
Love it.
Well said.
So thanks. So I guess we've been talking for a while. We should probably let Chris go back to his home at some
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
I've got some Chipotle waiting for me.
And-
Do you think that Chipotle? Here's a good question. Do you love Chipotle?
I do.
I've never I actually think Chipotle is one of the better Mexican foods. Like it's so good.
It's so
Da-na-na,
and
in
easy.
Nashville.
It's
And
so
sure,
good
but
and
it's
easy.
just like of like
and consistent.
yes,
It's
like you always
consistent.
know what you're gonna get.
Yeah. And you know what I like to think? Since remember when they flirted with E. coli back in the day?
Yes, they
that sucked
did.
for them. Again, bad PR year for Chipotle.
That wasn't great.
But I like to think like they probably really have their shit under control now. So like
Oh yeah, we trust them.
we
Yeah,
trust
it's
They
them.
good.
can't
go.
go back there.
You know,
It's good to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like we got
good to
out. We got out unscathed.
they're nervous.
Yes.
and they are meticulous.
Yes.
yes.
So, but
Okay, wait. We got to build you up before you go. Not that you don't need it because you're great. But
We could hang out with you guys more often.
I know. Right?
thank you. Did you hear that, listeners?
Yeah.
But yeah, you are the drummer in a band that has had unbelievable success and longevity. You're an amazing dad. You are an amazing entrepreneur and wedding band crusher of drums. That's what your business card should say.
I love that.
And yeah, we're just so glad you did the podcast. Thank you. You are
Thank you.
great.
I had a
You are
blast.
great. Do you think maybe you could leave our listeners who are maybe struggling with imposter syndrome or not starting their side hustle if they're nervous to do something, like any words of wisdom, any like quick little advice or pep talk you can give them?
Yes, I think I'll try. I think like looking back on like, maybe the MSG moment I had or any
That's
of the
Madison
others.
Square Garden, not the additive in some
Not like the
food.
extra salt in
just,
food,
just in
MSG.
case,
Yeah.
just in case we have any like Jenny's in Oklahoma.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying.
You never know.
Now I'm really gonna order like Chinese food tonight. That
Yes,
sounds
there you go.
amazing. Lo mein, baby. London loves noodles.
Oh my God,
Oh.
that girl.
We're gonna go out tonight for sure.
Yeah.
I love that.
So I would say that when I've looked back on that, I think most of my feeling, like the imposter syndrome feeling, is that it was more about being like unprepared.
Okay.
So I have found for myself that like I didn't go to music school. I didn't go to like Juilliard or Berkeley. Actually, I did take classes from Berkeley. But hey, that was
Love
after.
it.
That was part of the journey.
Okay.
But at the time, it's more of like I have found it's not like if I can prepare as best as I can, regardless of like the outcome, then I'm fine with how that performance was. It was when I'm, it's more like I'm not afraid of failing. I'm more afraid of being unprepared.
That's
Okay.
that's great advice.
I love that.
So like whatever you're going to do, don't be afraid to fail, but just be prepared so at least you know you did your best.
Yes. Yes.
That's really beautiful.
Yes. I need to hear that because I wing a lot of shit.
I wing a lot of shit too, but it's true though. Like I mean, to give yourself your best shot and to not feel regret or disappointment at the result, come prepared.
Yeah.
Come prepared. Yeah.
Always be
I don't know if
prepared.
this is too
ABP.
like to add on to this, like want like a story or something, I'm happy to like
Go for it.
share. So it wasn't just the playing live that was a problem. It was also like in the studio. I was having a lot of issues because we were working with these like really famous like music producers and engineers and all of these guys that are used to working with really high level musicians. And we come in, I'm like from the basement and have no idea, like you're supposed to record to a metronome. And it's like, I've never done that. And there's all these things that are under a microscope in the studio that, you know, if you haven't been there, it's hard to explain. I don't need to go in the nitty gritty of it, but it's just like, you need to like hit the snare drum at the same volume every time. And it's not just like playing the beat good. It's like, how
There's
are you
technique,
playing the beat? There's technique that I had never learned and trained. So that consistency is off. And so it's like, it made me make sense if, you know, once in a while, and it comes across in a live setting, totally fine. Cause I'm like, I'm playing with energy and passion. And I'm playing for the band and the song and the whole thing and the whole crowd's into it. But when you're in the studio, the way they do it also is that like you record just the drums.
Right.
And then you add the bass. And so I don't know if you know that whole side of it, but like it's just the drums and the focus on that. And so when I'm like this unprepared musician and let's say the producer is not happy with something, like I'm just focusing on like, well, it's like all I know how to play is like this part for the song that like I've practiced over and over, right? Well, that to me is not how I should have been prepared.
Got it.
So like I've gone back and looked at like, well, maybe come up with a couple different options as far as what beats you can play, what fills you can play, bring different snare drums, because maybe he doesn't know what he's asking for is really just switching out from a metal snare drum to a wood snare drum, or putting out a different cymbal on the thing that has a different sound. When you sit there and are a deer in headlights in that situation, and I have those options to provide, you really are unprepared.
Yes.
But whether or not I had like, you know, the skills to play the beat a different way, it was like, maybe that's not what he was asking for. And I would have been able to fix it 10 different other scenarios.
Yeah.
And that to me was like an eye-opening experience. We're like, okay, like I can only play what I can play. I mean, like I can't control that to a certain degree. You know, I can work on that by going and studying and taking lessons and doing all that. But it was a different level of preparation. So that's like a long story, but basically saying like, it's hard to know, like, you know, when you're saying like, I feel like an imposter, it's like, yeah, it's because you maybe aren't like, you haven't done this professionally, you know, but to what level of like this bar is it that you're setting for yourself?
Yeah. It's like you needed to expand your like toolkit. You needed to
right.
expand your toolkit. Yeah.
So to like relate that maybe to someone who's like, this is just something I thought of, but like, I want to be a spin instructor, but I don't know, like maybe a mom is sitting at home right now and is a stay-at-home mom and just wants to do something for herself. I want to be a spin instructor. Maybe like know how to take a spin class first. Like that's a really good way to start preparing.
Yeah.
You know?
And know about like other exercise and like other movements that like
just empower yourself.
Yeah.
Empower yourself.
Empower yourself. Oh, wait, Chris, we forgot to ask you though. You are going back on tour.
Yes, we are. And
when you go?
Next summer. So our tour kicks off in July and we tour all through September, all across the country. We'll be everywhere. I think it's like 40 cities.
Nice.
And we're playing with some amazing other bands. We've got Fits and the Tantrums, and
which is I Can Make Your Hands Clap.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah. A couple other bands that are on tour joining us, and then it kind of ends up at this big festival that we've partnered in called Ocean's Calling that Joelle was at. And
yes. Oh my God, it was so good.
Yeah. So that's a 3-day big old festival in Ocean City, Maryland.
Back home. Full circle.
Yes.
One of the best weekends of my life.
Yeah, it was incredible. So.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh my goodness. Okay,
yeah,
so
we have a busy summer.
Ocean's Calling, tour this summer, Music City All-Stars.
We've got new music coming out. O.A.R's got
O.A.R.
new music we're working on. So we're busy.
Wow.
I love it.
You are busy.
Incredible.
Incredible.
Oh my God, this was
Love
such
that.
a fun interview.
So fun.
Chris, did you have fun?
I had a great time.
Great.
Now can
God,
I
this is so
let me
great.
out of the basement?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can let him out
We'll
of the
let you out of the
basement.
basement.
Okay, well, this has been amazing.
We're going straight to Broadway to get someone to play Usher.
That's true. This has been Joelle.
This has been Annie.
And I'm Chris.
And we will see you next time.
Bye.
Thank you.